So let's move on to our next speaker, another amazing professional. Um, he is dialing in from Pondicherry, which is South India in Tamil Nadu. He's a musician, composer, activist, social worker who has worked in using music in healing people. I'm very honored to have him here. You know, he and I met many, many years ago, and we've stayed in touch through common interests of utilizing energies and music and light and color to help people. So, welcome, Arnab Chowdhury. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. I'm doing well. Okay.
Super, super. So, would you tell us about your journey first? And I'd love to see that 3-minute video from that you shared with us. But tell us about your journey, a little bit about everybody from around the world who are dialed in
Yeah.
to understand better what you do.
Yeah. Well, I've been blessed to be born in a family of Indian classical musicians. So I'm the third generation. Uh, my granduncle, Pandit Rabin Ghosh, he was a violin maestro, Indian classical violin. He was a disciple of Baba Alauddin Khan, the teacher, the guru of Pandit Ravi Shankar ji and Ustad Ali Akbar Khan.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's the real guru shishya parampara. That means the guru to the disciple
Exactly.
tradition.
Mhm.
Yeah. So where actually you end up, the entire approach to music becomes yoga. That
Mm.
means the idea there in in our lineage, it's basically, how do I put it? It's like when you are lost into music, you are in communion with yourself, with
Yeah,
the divine in
yeah,
you. And that's where you find your true silence. Yeah. And your true joy. So that's been our approach. So he taught to my granduncle, Pandit Rabin Ghosh taught my father taught me. So I guess my training started prenatal, literally.
fantastic.
Yeah, and yeah, and we've been also 3 generations here at Sri Aurobindo Ashram, the spiritual community set up by Sri Aurobindo, yeah, in Pondicherry. So it's these two confluences, these two rivers of spirituality. One from the yoga of music, the other one is from the Purna yoga of Sri Aurobindo. That I was born in that ecosystem, if I were to put it.
Beautiful.
And so I started composing. I started learning when I was 3. Went into vocal singing first, and then went to tabla. Then I was fascinated by the piano, which is an unusual choice for an Indian classical musician,
Hmm.
but it just kind of fascinated me, and I started getting into piano. And that's when my teacher caught me one day improvising with Bach's first Prelude
Hmm.
and
Okay.
extending it. And she told me that's composition in the Western classical sense.
Right.
It's very interesting because in the world of Indian classical music, what we do is a vistar. That means you elaborate the ragas, the
Right.
ancient melodic mode, which have therapeutic potential, and you keep you kind of, it's like endless elasticity as long as you're in the framework.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's when I got into composition, then went into electronic music. Then I got an opportunity to work with MIT Media Lab,
Huh.
bringing in the Indian classical music paradigms and artificial intelligence. Worked with also with education, and then finally founded Know Your Rhythm, which is essentially a training methodology, a training program
Right.
where we work with caregivers of the society. So it's healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, therapists of all kinds, and also government officers, children with special needs, juveniles, all kinds of things. Essentially, we're trying to imbibe
Uh-huh.
conditions where they have an experience of aha moment. That means there's a sense of a transformation to happen.
Understood.
Yeah.
And then you have also, I mean, I want to know more about know your rhythm, feel your rhythm, know your rhythm, listen to your voice. Um, but should we watch the video first? Because
Sure, do
yeah,
that.
after
Let's do
this
that.
video
That
of
gives an overview.
Prelude.
Great.
Evergreen is our heart, ever happy we play our part. Painting in bold, welcome all of you.
Friends of the forest, beautiful, this place for all, big and small. So welcome to our world. This hey yo ho, 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 hey yo ho ho. Kitty kitty kitty, kitty kitty kitty. लुका छिपी खेल रहे हैं चंदा और तारे, बादल में छिप छिप जाते हैं सारे। कभी झांके चंदा, कभी झांके तारे, कभी झांके चंदा, कभी झांके तारे। झिलमिल झिलमिल वे हंसते हैं सारे।
Oh my God. Thank you for sharing, Arnab.
You're welcome. Yeah.
I have so many questions that I would like to ask on behalf of the audience, and and basically, seems like your whole life as a musician is really not making compositions for your own pleasure. You're doing this for the benefit, whether it's in health and wellness, whether it's children with special needs, whether it's music therapy, you know, that's what your life is about, I feel, right? I mean, you're a super composer.
Right.
That's what your driver is, right? What was the
Right.
catalyst?
I think that a couple of things. When I was learning from my father since the age of 3, we realized that started realizing there is more to music than to music itself. You know,
Mm,
much more than performance. I got on the professional stage. I made my professional debut in the Chennai music season when I was 13.
hmm,
Yeah, and it was pretty early. I mean, among and
yes,
yeah, and then I realized there is more to just addressing the audience in a formal setting.
right.
And there was so much that the music gave back to me
Yeah.
as I dived into it. So I wanted to share the same sense of self-healing, if I could share it in the form of a training program through my therapeutic compositions, which are based on the ancient Indian ragas and talas, that means the ancient melodic modes and the rhythm structures, and yet orchestrated for the year that is international, that speaks to everybody.
To everybody, yeah.
Yeah, so that's been a lot of my work, and with my training into Western classical music, and then into electronic and computer music, and also discovering even music and AI. That was an amazing thing. Experience with MIT Media Labs, Music Mind and Machine Group. AI gives us, let's put it, I mean, there are sure lots of negatives, there are a lot of positives, but one of the positives I came across was definitely was AI makes you more aware of who you are in terms of a process
Mm.
as a researcher. So
Yeah,
that
that's a
that
great
made
thought.
even as a cognition, because I got into
Yeah.
my area of work was music composition and cognition.
Now, how
So
did
I
that?
started,
Sorry, go ahead,
yeah,
please. No, please go ahead.
yeah. Now essentially you start looking at yourself as a process. Yeah.
Right.
um, just like in architecture, you start looking at music in a more granular way at the same time as a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So you start looking at even the healing process as can I make into a design pattern? Can it happen? Can it really can? We certainly can't make one size fits all, but still, can I start looking at the process of trying the cosmology of healing itself through music, through sound.
And is
So
there
that
the cosmology of healing through music and sound? Is that like is that like a sutra that you're referring to, or is that like a ancient document that you're referring
no,
to, or is that a
no,
compilation of?
I'm trying to getting back to one area which is very ancient. I mean, one is the music in Indian spiritual culture dates back to the Samaveda,
Right.
and then goes into the Natya Shastra, which is also a treatise on the aesthetics,
Correct, yeah.
which is at the foundation of all Indian arts, but also looking at what we call the concept. I'm revisiting the world of raga chikitsa. That means using ragas, the ancient melodic mode, to heal, and at the same time bridging that knowledge, wealth of knowledge, to the modern medicine.
The Raga Chikitsa is a document that exists. Like, is that in the
Uh,
Samveda, or is it?
no, it's not in Samaveda. It's been I have had to read a lot of different documents to able
No,
to
that's what I'm
really
asking.
retrieve a lot.
Yeah.
And you don't have it in one document, but you get a lot of pointers. But a lot of it is also depends on the practitioner. That means in this case, it's like I have to work on myself before I compose. So I have to build the composure in me to be able to compose. So when I'm actually working with other musicians, co-musicians, actually all of them are spiritual seekers. So we actually do the yoga in terms of so know your rhythm is an amalgamation of There's yoga of music and sound. There's yoga of breath, pranayam. There is a yoga of body, asanas. And there is obviously fingers, that's mudras.
Yes.
And finally, the most important part is sleep, nidra.
Yoga Nidra.
Something we often tend to ignore, or we don't know enough about it, but we're spending probably 1/3 of our lives. And it's a great source of not only inspiration, but also a great source of raising immune system, happiness, and diving into one's subconscious to heal ourselves.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
So just while we're on it, does every raga carry a healing phenomenon? Or this is a question from the audience, since we are on it.
Right.
Raga Chikitsa, every rag has like a healing component to it, is it?
It can be. I mean, or there's several layers of answers to it. One is every raga has certain characteristics, and philosophically, a raga is a being that you need to invoke and evoke to be able to get into a healing mode. As a performer, as a composer, and as a listener, you have to also help him or her to get into a deep listening mode. Then probably the healing can happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a two-way street of sorts, yeah, that it has to
Exactly.
be, you have to
It
be
has to.
ready to
Yeah.
receive the message.
Exactly.
Would you say that like Raga Bhairavi is for, say, depression? Could you make a statement like that?
It's unlike allopathic medicine. It's very difficult to make a direct correlation. But if it is set to a particular laya, that means tempo, with scale. So there are lots of characteristics that are a lot of nuances to be tuned into a composition to be able to get to a state where it can be used in the best potency possible. And also time of
Yeah. So the lyre and the receiver and the person who's playing it, all of it comes together. So there's no one, another question from the same person, that there's no one rag for like just well-being, like let's
no,
play.
there isn't. And also you have to also remember that, I mean, traditionally it has been set to, I mean, loosely structured to the Navarasas, the 9 emotional archetypes, which are at the base as a foundation of Indian performing arts, for that matter. But what I'm trying to do is connect it to the healing modalities of modern medicine today and therapy.
Fantastic. Just for our international audience, the word raga, the closest equivalent of that would be a symphony, right?
No, it's more on the scale, actually. Raga is essentially a melodic mode, which certain, yeah, and in fact, it's a superset of a scale, a melodic mode. Like you have the Greek modes,
right?
Yeah. So that's the thing, and there is much more to it philosophically also. Certain ragas are also applied rather to invoke a certain form of deity.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so one can spend learning a raga also.
Sorry?
One single raga. One can spend a couple of years learning one single raga.
Yeah.
Also. Yeah. That's it.
What is the most powerful? It's a slight detour. What is the most powerful rag for mental health? Because in these crazy times that we are in, right? What rag would you recommend? I understand that there is a lie, there is
right.
all of those things.
I mean, that brings us to, in fact, the conversation of we had on a project we're doing right now called Project Sustati, which means denotes well-being in Sanskrit.
Yeah.
Where I'm leading a project with a couple of hospitals, public hospitals in India. We are trying to help the COVID warriors as a healthcare, as the doctors, healthcare workers, nurses, to help them de-stress themselves, bring down the stress, increase their well-being. And we brought out a pilot project, a pilot study, which was very successful in Gujarat, in Western India. And there we, in fact, what I composed was with a couple of flutist and also string arrangement, is a rag which evokes a sense of bravery.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So like the Veer,
Veer,
yeah.
called the Veer Rasa.
Yeah.
In fact, the rag is Maru Behag, and it's a night rag. The idea was, imagine you are at the end of the day,
Hmm.
after 12 hours of COVID work,
Hmm.
I mean, giving service to COVID patients, you come
Essentially.
out with your PPE kits.
Hmm.
You're supposed to lie down in Shavasana, that's a corpse pose, and just listen to a voice that is guiding you through this raga with some visualization.
Hmm.
And it's supposed to be a night raga. So at the end of the day, can this blended therapeutic protocol of music therapy with yoga therapy, can
Hmm.
it help you to recharge yourself? And apparently it did. We had about 68% of the participants, doctors, who said that who felt that they felt a sense of calmness, a control over anger, and a sense of pride in what they're doing day in and day out.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And you know, the amazing thing, I know you and I spoke about this previously. The amazing thing is that you were actually able to do a statistical model
Right.
to look at the responses. You see, the world that, I mean, we're facing this in one of our pivoting projects. I'll tell you more about that, tell the audience more about that a little later. That what we're facing is that how do you measure this? You
Hmm.
know, because you can't just rely on saying, well, it's ancient wisdom, it's been there for millenniums, because in this what you keep saying, you dial into the modern medicine system and the modern system. so
Right.
so that becomes kind of like an open question always. It's like, this is too loosey goosey, hocus pocus for me. I don't know, but you're actually one of the first people I know,
Hmm.
who's measuring this.
Right. Right.
That you go to the hospital, you work with the COVID warriors, as you call it. We call them essential workers here in the hospitals, right? And you're giving them this music therapy, and you're then measuring their responses on the different uh, layers. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Definitely. Yeah. So I mean, of course, it requires a lot of. I have to understand the medical language.
Mm.
I mean, I'm a member of International Association for Music and Medicine. I'm a certified therapist from International Association for Yoga Therapists from US, in fact. So that's how I get to blend the yoga therapy and the music therapy, and also have to engage the doctors so that they can see that, okay, there's of course bringing also the psychiatrists.
Mhm.
So this is both, we have to really bridge this to apparently different worlds, but I think it's getting nearer.
I think, yeah, it's the onus is on us
Right.
to bring it together. As a beautiful comment in the chat, healing through color, sound, music, architecture, and all that is combining all visual, sound, music, architecture, and more. Beautiful.
Right.
That's really what you're doing, and I congratulate for your work with the COVID warriors. And I
Right.
do want to watch the trailer of the therapeutic music in hospitals. I know it's only 1 minute,
Right.
but is that okay, or do you want to
Yeah.
talk something else before
I
we?
What would be interesting, yeah, I mean, now there'll be that 1 minute. I'm going to what Justin is going to play is a trailer of our therapeutic music. So you'll get to listen to a rock centered music, but it has to also appeal to the
Uh-huh.
international ear, and it's been actually used in wellness centers in US as well as in India.
Utterly. So this was therapeutical music that's used in you said in wellness centers in the United States and in UK
in
as well.
India, and
Mm.
in India especially.
Mm.
And if you look at the architecture of it,
Yeah.
I'm just breaking it down. It's based on rag Bhimpalasi, which is an afternoon rag, and it's been constructed in a tempo for which you actually can do your vinyasa yoga, which vinyasa yoga primarily is based on
Mm. Yeah.
the breath
Mhm.
work.
The flow breath. Yeah. Huh?
So we actually, so basically as a composer, I need to get through the vinyasa process along with my musicians to create music for the yoga therapists.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. There is, it's, it's amazing. I mean, talking to you, I mean, my musical connects as well, but when I'm talking to a person who has actually delved into the research of music, into the science of music, and connecting it from an ancient world to a modern world, it it's really mind-boggling the layers of complexity that exist here.
Mhm.
Layers of complexity that exist and how those relationships can be made. Like you said, Neem Palasi playing at a certain lay in the afternoon does one thing, which is connected to vinyasa, right? If I needed to do just yoga nidra, then I'm doing something else. It's
Completely.
amazing. Listen,
Absolutely.
we could talk for hours because your topic is so compelling, and I'm sure we will have opportunities in the future. But here's one quick thing before we move on to our next part of the agenda, which is tell us about your new projects and this new project that you're working on, and give us your coordinates on how can people get in touch with you and
Right.
on fundraising that you're doing for your project.
Right. So this I just mentioned earlier, the project Sustati, which is essentially well-being in Sanskrit, where we're reaching out to public hospitals in India, especially, trying to help to create a yoga therapy, music therapy blended program
Hmm.
where they could listen to the audio, and also it's a research comes therapy program. So we hope that, and unfortunately, most of these public hospitals, they have their research budget slashed to zero or
Yeah.
near zero.
Yeah.
So they're kind of struggling it out. So we're trying to help them out, but also we're looking for funds. We are raising funds, something that I talked to
Yeah.
Abhay Bhai earlier.
Mhm.
And so we would be happy if you could help us, support us. And we're reaching out to, and as you know, the situation even in India, I mean, just as in US, it's pretty grim right now,
Yeah.
given the population density we have here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're trying to reach more and more hospitals.
How do we do that? Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
To reach Arnab, thank you, Justin. To reach Arnab, you can, yeah, the country code is +91. He's in India.
Right.
Or you can, so you do +91 before the 10 digits of the number. And his email is Arnab Ninad. Ninad is his music label at
Mhm.
gmail.com. So we will definitely find ways of
Sure.
supporting your amazing efforts. And I thank you for making our I was telling you this earlier that otherwise the journey is fairly lonely because you can't connect with people who are thinking the same way of helping with, as one of our guests here said, the captured the healing through color, sound, music, architecture, and all that is. So I'm really happy to be back in touch with you through this forum, and I'm sure we will do our best to support um, your cause. In fact, we Justin just reminded me that we will be inviting you as the focus speaker for AWA Agora, which is the talk show for the next season. We have 10 episodes per season, so you'll definitely be one of them because we must continue this conversation, get this knowledge out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about one culture, one country, one religion. It's not that. It's a
Beyond
universal
that. Right.
language,
Right.
and it's very, very compelling. And for that, thank you so much, Arnab.
Thank you, Abhay, and thank you for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, and namaste, and good night from all the way from India.
Right, it's late for you. Yeah. Well, stick
Okay.
around for this
Okay.
next part, and I think you'll also enjoy the next two
Sure.
segments.
Sure.
Um,
Thank
you
you.
know, So thank you, Arnab.